Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Democratic View. And I am the hostess. My name is Phyllis Italiano. And I have with me today a very attractive, I might add, guest by the name of Susan Harder. And Susan is a specialist in something that a lot of us know very little about, which is called dark skies. Susan, a native of Virginia,
Yes.
right outside of the town that I went to school in, Washington, D.C. So tell us how the Dark Skies, International Dark Skies, began.
About 25 years ago, the observatories that surround Tucson, Arizona, they realize they're professional observatories, and it's also a astrotourism. It's a very big industry of people who would go there in order to see the stars. They noticed that their night sky, they were losing stars. And so they approached the city fathers as a group, and they helped enact what they called dark sky laws, which would be lighting that illuminates the ground. All the light is directed downward. And this was the genesis of the Dark Sky International. And we now have chapters all over the world: Australia, Italy, Japan, France, Great Britain, and of course in every state in the United States. And what we do is we educate people, municipalities, officials, publics, organizations, about how to use light sensibly, and so we can avoid what we call sky glow, which is when light is directed up, hits particulate in the sky, and we lose our view of the night sky. But there's also other benefits, and I can show you because I brought some slides in to illustrate this point. But it was interesting when you said that something that not many people know about, because it is said of this issue, lighting, just lighting in general, never have so many known so little about so much.
That is very good.
It's really quite true.
Yes.
You know, it's even when we go to the hardware store to buy a light bulb, it's hard to pick out what's what. But we do need to learn about it because we want to conserve energy and use it wisely. But the first slide will show you an illustration. This is a satellite view, a composite, because the Earth is never all dark at the same time. This shows the light that is emanating towards the satellites. They're actually able to measure this, and for the United States alone, they figured that we're wasting about $3 to $10 billion in lighting that is not being directed properly towards the ground.
And some of it is on Sunrise Highway if you drive from west to east, as I did last night. I couldn't get over the blaze of light.
Well, it's an increasing problem, but it's one we can deal with. This is the problem. When we have light that's going upward and out off what is intended to be the target. And the problems, also have to do not just with the night sky, but safety and security, human health, and the environment. So here's a perfect example of lights that are shining, in all directions instead of down towards the ground. And of course, the result is this sky glow hitting particulate.
You can actually see that as you're driving on yesterday. I could see areas over there to my left, which were so bright in the sky, and then to my right, towards the water and the pine barrens, there would be nothing.
Well, there's a lot of light where you have greater concentrations of population,
and
of course,
stores.
And of course, New York is always going to be the brightest, but it's actually much brighter than it needs to be from above. And in New York and all the municipalities in this region are actually addressing light pollution in one form or another. Here's your common problem out here in the Hamptons. We get the big McMansion with the big floodlights on it.
So we can even at night be impressed with how big the house is and how much money they have?
Well, you can't see a house like that if you've got the lights shining straight in your face. And this is a situation that I encountered, which was my neighbor's lights were shining into my bedroom. And this is an illustration that was in a brochure that was distributed throughout East Hampton. And so what I did was I tried to investigate the law that we had, and I discovered that those types of floodlights were supposed to be addressed, but there wasn't a real solution for it. So I actually devised these little cans that fit onto floodlights and direct the light downward. And those are available for free from the Nature Conservancy. But a much better solution than shielding those lights is to just change the fixture, because this was put up by Supervisor Schneiderman when he was our supervisor. And you can save $200 a year by installing a new fixture that only costs $60. So that's a big deal. And here's the situation too. Glare, actually, it's a hazard, as you were describing before. You know, it impedes your vision at night because your eye will always adapt to the brightest light source. And these particular fixtures, which were leased by LIPA to illuminate commercial properties, they no longer install these as new fixtures. They cause tremendous problems, you know, glare into the highway. Actually, this particular one, which is near the Red Horse Market, has been changed out to a fully shielded fixture. Glare is also a problem because your eye will autonomically go towards a brighter light source. And when it does, you take your eyes off the road. And at 45 miles an hour, you know, you can travel 300 feet and your eyes are basically not looking forward. It's also a problem with air pollution and our total global warming problem, because for every 100 watts that burns dusk to dawn that's not serving a useful purpose, the equivalent of a quarter ton of coal is burned. And even on Long Island, where we have a combination of sources for our energy, they do burn coal west of us, and of course the winds travel, and that we get that, you know, that particulate dumped east of the power plants. And it's been shown that birds who migrate at night primarily, you can see in this poster, this is Migrating Bird Day. There's stars in the background. Birds partially navigate by the stars, and they get thrown off course by upwardly directed lights, and they die by the, tens of millions. There's a program in Toronto where they actually collect the birds from the birds that hit the lit buildings. And they've managed to have a program where the lights get turned off or turned down, especially just wall washing, building washing lights to protect the bird migration routes. And here's an example of, upwardly directed light that affects trees. Trees have dieback from being lit all night because they don't go into dormancy when they're scheduled to do so. Oh. Here's an example of a tree in Amagansett where the leaves are hanging on because they're lit up all night by a so-called street light. And you can see it around here, we're starting to change out to this flat lens type of Cobra street light, and it directs the light down towards the ground instead of that bulbous type fixture that sends light upward. There's a better lighting design. And this is a set of diagrams. On your right are what we call fully shielded. The bulb is recessed into an opaque cap. On the left are the equivalents that are unshielded, that send light outwards and off the target. These are attached to building permits here in East Hampton and in Southampton, Riverhead, and Brookhaven. They attach these and make them part of their lighting regulations. Here's an example. This is a building on Spings Fireplace. They've since changed these lights, but I calculated that they were spending over $1,500 a year on electricity, whereas if they had changed the fixtures to a motion sensor, and even if they were on 1 hour per night, it would just be $12 a year. So there really is tremendous energy savings by switching to shielded lights, and especially motion sensor. Here's a shielded fixture over at the Nature Conservancy, and on their roof as well, they have solar collectors. Over at the Accabonac Apartments, that fixture that's on the left was the previous fixture, and it sent light, straight into your face as you were approaching the door. They've switched out to glare busters, and they're saving over $1,000 a year. And we have to remember, light bulbs produce a false light. In the center and the top, that's daylight, so it's equal measures of all colors. But light bulbs have different color percentages, and this actually does produce different effects. So we also need to be careful about choosing our light bulbs, because we get much greater sky glow and glare from light bulbs that have a high blue content. Because when you, remember, as you're driving down the highway and you see the headlights that are very bluish purple, the reason that those are so painful and the reason you can't see as well after you pass them is because that blue light gives you problems with adaptation, because your pupil will shut down more. And here's a example of sort of a retrofit that's going to be required by East Hampton Town. It's a simple shield that fits over the unshielded fixture. Here's a before of the previous sign lights. We now have a law where the sign lights have to be put on top of the sign. And then here's the after, where you can actually read the sign much better, and there's no glare, which was previously in the eyes of people driving down the highway. And I thought I would end a little slideshow with the very first image that we took of Saturn through the telescope of the Montauk Observatory. It's a professional grade 20-inch telescope. And we should have it up and running pretty soon.
Yeah, all right, so I have about 100 things I want to say,
Oh, goody.
too. First of all, I wanted to recount what we were talking about before we started, which was I was driving home yesterday. I was on Sunrise Highway, and behind me was a car higher than my Prius, and it had the single brightest lights I have ever been in front of in my life. And sometimes another car would come and be between us, and it wouldn't be, but I'd have to go down like this to shield my eyes, because it really was hard.
Yeah.
It was forcing itself right into my car. I finally, because this guy kept trying to come next to me, I don't know, because he knew, I guess he must have known I was pretty annoyed with him. I finally had to speed away. I mean, really speed away. I just said, I can't take this. I'm going to go off the side of the road from this glare. And I said, I am going to speed. And I decided I would risk a cop giving me a ticket to tell him why I had to do it, because that guy's lights were just incredible. I had to get away from that car. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is, when your television is off in your bedroom, if you have one in your bedroom, you'll see there's a little red light, not a blue light.
Yeah, well, the red is, well, I wanted to read something that I actually received today, because I have to tell you, I actually study this issue quite a bit, and I get posts from people who are doing research on this issue. And it comes, and practically weekly, I learn new things. And this is from a graduate of the Lighting Research Center, which is at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. She has a master's degree in lighting.
In New York, I might add.
Yeah, in New York State, exactly. Yes. She writes, when your body is exposed to blue light at night, the melatonin levels in your body are reduced. Because when you have light, even in your bedroom or coming through the window, right, it shuts off your melatonin. So your body's healing process is compromised. There is an increased chance of cancer, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and anxiety depression when using lamps with blue light. Lower Kelvin lamps have less blue light than higher Kelvin lamps. And this is really important. Currently in our town law, we limit the maximum Kelvin to 3,000. And fortunately, it's going to stay that way because and that is something that's coming up June 5th. There's going to be a hearing on our lighting code at Town Hall at 7 o'clock. And I'd love to encourage people in your audience, if they have ideas or thoughts or problems, especially problems with glare or what we call light trespass, which is when your neighbor is lighting up your property and you don't want it there. It's called light trespass. And if anybody's having problems, I encourage them to speak up and speak to the town board, because we do have laws on the book that especially address glare. That's when you see a bright bulb and you're in your house and you've got someone's outdoor light that's very, very bright. It can be addressed.
I
And
think
luckily,
there will be 100,000 people coming to that.
Well, I hope
who
so.
experience that,
Because
because
the-
I think
the-
many of us do.
well, the town board needs to know that this is important to people, and then they'll address it. But we were lucky that we're here at this point in time, that we're simply amending and talking about our current lighting law, because the previous administration, for 4 years, there were 2 town board members who wanted to repeal our lighting code. And luckily, they did not succeed, because there was a lot of people in the background that tried very hard to prevent that from being repealed. So right now, we're talking about amendments and refining and enforcement. You know, we're going to have great enforcement in the town, and the building department will also be checking more carefully what the actual law reads. I mean, we're really in good shape now, and I'm very pleased.
I got to tell you that you have made me so conscious of light at night that as I drive, for instance, even out of Sag Harbor, in what is, I believe, the East Hampton side of Sag Harbor.
Right.
Right to your left, there's somebody who has the brightest lights. I keep saying, I got to report them. I got to report them. But, you know, you're driving at night, you're coming out
Yeah.
of something, you know, and you
Yeah.
say,
You do have to report.
yeah,
You know,
because
it
it's very
helps.
difficult to. The other thing
Yeah.
I did want to mention is the importance of melatonin. I know you talked about its effect upon disease, but it's also about your circadian rhythms. And I'll
Yep.
be the old science teacher now, because that is your normal clock inside your body. It's what makes you go to sleep at night and wake up in the daytime. And that's very important.
It is, because, you know, when you're asleep, it's not like you're dead. You know, a lot of very important biological functions
You
occur
bet.
in your sleep. And melatonin, we have to think about ourselves as the animals that we are. We evolved over millions of years in a day, and all creatures on the planet, including plants and animals, all evolved with this day-night cycle. I mean, electric light is really not much more than, 100 years old.
That's right.
So we're disrupting very important biological functions. And nobody's saying turn the lights off when you need them. We're simply saying use them sensibly, especially conserve the energy, and turn them off. I mean, when we go to bed, we turn off our inside lights. We basically could also turn off our outside lights.
Yes, indeed. I even tell that to my pussycat who lives outside. I'm shutting your lights off now, kid.
Yeah.
'Cause I keep them on for a little while,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I say that's enough.
And motion sensor lights are fantastic. They and you can also shut those off so that they're not going off and on as the deer pass. But there are so many solutions to the problem, and we just have to put a little common sense in here.
And as a matter of fact, if you do experience somebody who has the light shining into your house, and it's very difficult to tell a neighbor, shut those lights, or else.
I have a handout on my website. It's darkskysociety.org. And it's a one-page, and it says how to talk to your neighbor about a bad light. And actually, do you know what the most effective, don't do what I did, which was I banged on my neighbor's door and, got angry about it. The best thing to do is to invite your neighbor over to look back at their house, because I'm telling you, they have no idea that they're lighting up your house. But if you show them they might understand. Also, those shields I showed you are free.
Yes.
And you can get them from the Nature Conservancy, the Group for the East End, and Concerned Citizens of Montauk. So,
3 of my favorite groups.
yeah, they snap right onto the bulb.
The other thing I was going to mention also is that if you do feel that for your own health that you must, really guard from all kinds of light, because your phone has a little light, your clock has a little light. Many people wear those little, I don't know what you would call them.
Yeah, the little masks.
The little mask at night, and I know that when I am in New York, staying at my son's house, where the city lights don't go off,
Yeah, I know.
I do wear it.
Yeah, you
because
have to. You
I-
must. And especially
it's-
when you travel, because hotel rooms have so much light around them.
Right,
But,
right.
for me, I didn't want light coming in my bedroom, and I didn't want to wear a mask because I have a big skylight, and I love to look at the stars as I go to sleep at night.
That is a thrill. As a matter of fact, when I got out of my car last night, at my door, even though there was some clouds, the moon was almost full.
Yep.
And there was a few stars where the clouds broke.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's why I love East Hampton.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time that I went to Girard Point, and looked at the stars here, because in Fire Island, where I went for many years, we used to actually go out and watch the Gemini.
Yes, the showers, the meteor showers, yeah.
Meteor showers, and
Yeah.
that was great fun.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it for a long time, because you can't see it in Westchester County.
Yeah.
But when you come out here,
Well,
you can't see that.
It's true, and also I want to encourage people to sign up for a free membership at the montaukobservatory.com, because we have what we call star parties, and the astronomers come out and set up the telescopes, and everybody looks through the stars, and we give these great lectures, from these wonderful scientists, and it's very family friendly. We've been doing them at the Ross School and at the Montauk School. So, but it's a free activity, and they can, because it's fun to learn about our night sky, especially because we could see it.
You can say, hello, Betelgeuse.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I love those stars. And it's fun to learn even the names of them.
Yeah.
But this is a very important issue, and I do hope that people will show up to
Yeah,
help
the
and-
hearing is June 5th, Thursday evening, 7 o'clock. There's a bunch of hearings, but if people want to get up just for the 3-minute comment section and let the town board know that this is something that they would like them to enforce and strengthen.
Yes. Well, we are all going to show up. And as a matter of fact, we're so lucky that we have the town board that we have,
We
that
are.
is courteous to everybody and allows and welcoming to whatever people have to
And
say.
they're trying very hard to protect what we have. I'm
I
excited.
hope so.
Yeah, I feel very strongly that with this town board, we'll be able to move forward in the town.
Because the more I travel around, and the more I notice what I don't like and what I treasure out here.
Yeah.
And this is
We
really
can,
very,
we can lose it like that.
you bet. You bet. It's creeping up on us.
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying, I've got my hand up like this, saying, no, Nassau County.
Well, the good thing about this lighting issue is it just makes sense. It doesn't cost, it's not like cleaning up water that's so expensive and sometimes impossible.
Yeah.
We can absolutely clean up light pollution, and it's cost effective.
Yes, and it does. It saves you money.
Yeah.
And people need to know to shut the lights off when they go to bed and things like that, because it's not necessary.
Yeah.
And you're saving on your electrical bill. Well, I'm very happy that you were able to get here today and that we got to see all of these wonderful slides. And I do want to also remind people that it's not only important to us, but it's also important to all of the animals that
Yes.
live around us.
Yeah, 'cause, you know-
particularly
Yeah.
the migrating birds.
Definitely.
They need to have those flyways that are not lit up because they lose their way.
And also, birds aren't going to nest in a tree that's lit.
Why would anybody light a tree anyway? I don't understand that.
Well, they could do it. It's just, be sensible is all we're asking. I think that it's courteous to your neighbors and to the critters.
Well, we need to become more conscious of it. There's no doubt about it. And it's a very important thing that we have to keep an eye on. And I'm going to get that address of that place in Sag Harbor. And who do I report it to? Who do you report
Well, you
it
know,
to?
the code enforcement is actually, when Julia Prince was a code enforcement officer for our town, she said the lighting code was the easiest code to enforce. Because once you deal with a light, it doesn't happen again.
Oh,
It's not like noise, because you turn around and then they get the noise again. Once you deal with a light that's causing a problem, it's done.
maybe we could get her a job again. Because, you know, it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there is that point that
Yeah.
once it's done, it's done.
It's done.
And it's
Well,
not going to happen again.
The town board just needs to know how important this is to people, and you know, they'll be able to get everybody on board in fixing it.
Well, I'm sure you are going to lead us in this direction.
I'm happy to help in every way I can.
Very good. Well, thank you very much for coming. We're all going to be there June
5th,
5th.
7 o'clock at night.
That's only a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Okay, so we're all going to do that, and we wish you much good luck on this endeavor of yours.
Thank you so much for
And I'm
inviting
going
me.
to put these in my neighbor's box. Maybe he'll get the hint.
Well, I'll give you a nice little handout. You can give it to him, just so you know, I'm telling you, for the most part, people don't know they're causing a
I know
problem.
they don't. They don't understand.